Hey everybody, it's Addictive here once again, and finally I'm here to share with you the first update on my Age of Empires 2 Crash Course. Crash Course is, of course, the name of the event where I'm taking 3 players who are beginners in Age of Empires 2 and challenging them to learn the game within a time limit and then put what they've learned to the test in a tournament bracket. So just a quick refresher on Crash Course settings. For the tournament games, I've laid out a pool of just 13 civs for them to choose from to keep it nice and simple, those being the original 13 Age of Kings civs. And for maps, I went with the classic Arabia Arena Mega Random, mainly just so they can always easily get their practice games in without needing to like make custom lobbies or anything like that. Those maps are always in every rank pool. So my players have been at it for nearly a month now, and I've been blown away by their progress so far, so let's get into it. So we did decide to do this in sort of a hidden cup style, so the players will be anonymous until the very end, after the tournament games are done, and after that point, if they choose to reveal themselves, they are more than welcome to do so. I gave them the choice of any unique unit from among the 13 civs in their civ pool to use as their alias for the duration of the crash course, and here are your players. Here we go. Number 1, Longboat is your first Crash Course contestant, player, student, victim, maybe, I don't know, whatever you want to call him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. He is by far the least experienced in Age of Empires 2 going into this, as he's really never played before. He did own the game. I should have his playtime on screen here. This is before we started the event, so he did own the game. He bought it, I think, on sale at one point, and the story was he opened it, played one AI game, and was like, no, this game is not for me. So, of course, I had to drag him back in. He does watch the stream a fair bit, so he's seen a fair few casts, which maybe helped him get the idea of what multiplayer looks like. He's seen like the flow of a game, but really, like, of the 3 players, he is entering basically entirely from scratch. Now, in terms of games he does play, he plays games, he plays other games, he's pretty competitive in general, I think, in those games. He likes like board games, card games, he plays kind of RPGs, action games, and he likes games in the realm of strategy, but he just doesn't play RTS. It's the real-time stuff that's really stressed him out and causing him problems in Age of Empires so far, but he's getting better. I think the closest experience he's had in games like this would be like Civilization series, but I think even in his own words, he's more of like a casual, you know, chilled out enjoyer of those kind of games. Now, for Longboat's games, I was a bit nervous because I was faced with the dilemma of, like, how do you teach someone Age of Empires 2 from complete scratch? So the way I did it, I did the same thing with every player. We'd be on a Discord call, I'd get them to stream their game to me, and basically we would just go through the tutorial, like the William Wallace campaign we played through together, then the Art of War missions. Super relaxed, like just chatting. I'm not like full teacher mode or whatever, we're just talking. I would give some tips, answer questions, but mainly just let them to figure it out and like get comfortable with the game. Once they'd finished and seemed happy that they'd learned what they could from those, I got them to play a couple of AI games just to like get comfortable of what it feels like to be in a game, you know, not against a player, but feeling like moving things around, making army. Same kind of vibe. I would just be like hinting what they should think about at this kind of point in the game, remind them to make builds, like when they can advance or like make army, stuff like that. And I think it went really well. Like, I've never taught someone Age of Empires from such a complete baseline before, but I think it was a pretty good introduction. Like, in total, the tutorial and the Art of Wars were about 2-ish hours. We were completely chilling. It wasn't super fast or anything. Some of them played like more AI games than others, but once we were finished, wrapped up in that, like, they were ready to just dive straight in. Now, with Longboat specifically, we did everything I just mentioned, of course, and we had some of the classic rite of passage growing pains, like some boars going on villager mass murder sprees. But in general, I was really impressed with how quickly he was picking the game up. He was really struggling with hotkeys at first, and I'd mentioned that it's totally fine to just play the game for a bit, like that it's a skill you will need, but you can pick it up once you're a little bit more comfortable. But I really like that he seemed super determined to try and drill them really hard early on. Now, he still does struggle quite a bit with getting like the right building or unit quickly, but like that's totally expected. It's something that for sure will get smoothed out over time. Now, one thing I want to mention that I think was a big game changer for these 3 compared to I think like the average new Age of Empires player is that they are pretty well used to the idea of like ranking systems or elo systems in games. So I think they very well understood how at first you like are gonna lose, you're gonna eat some losses. They were super prepared to just jump on the ladder and start losing to get down to a level where, you know, they can start to win, start to learn, which I think is a massive roadblock for a lot of people coming into the game who don't know that or maybe played other games. This for sure gave them a huge head start and is something I would have pushed them really hard to do if they didn't already have that mindset. Now, I'm not saying these guys are like prodigies or anything, but they're so much better than I thought they would be that I really am waiting for like the scam comments to come in that like These guys aren't new. You just put up people that obviously know how to play. They're pretending about like ice. You have to take it on Addictive's honor. I know these guys in real life, like they genuinely are new, but I think this is where they got the big advantage. Like they went straight into playing other people. On that note, I actually was pretty surprised that Longboat wanted to jump straight on the ladder in our first session. Like, I know he has that mentality, but we had played for quite a bit, I think 2 or so hours. He played a few AI games, and I even said to him, like, it's totally fine if he wants to play a few more AI games to like get the controls down, but he was like, no, let me at him. I want to get beaten up. Let me get my damn ass beat so I can learn this damn game, which I was so impressed by. I wasn't going to stop him. I think he also is pretty aware that he is the least experienced of the 3, so I have to give props to him for doing what he can to try and catch up. But yeah, this is Longboat's story so far. It's his gameplay is the one that's been in the background for the past couple of minutes. This was one of his first rank games actually. He's been doing really well. It seems like he's enjoying it, at least as far as I can tell. He's been asking me to do sessions rather than me poking and prodding them. And he's actually played the most games out of the 3 by this point. One thing that really surprised me about Longboat in particular is he loves Mega Random and he hates Arabia, so based. But that's just funny to me because I've had people comment that Mega Random might be too difficult for these like beginner level players, and I did kind of agree with that. But here we have Longboat loving Mega Random. Like every time an Arabia game comes up, he's like, oh god damn. Like it's so, for a complete beginner, I love it so much. This one here was a sick Mega Random game he played. This was one of his first couple games. He was on the Turks. I was on Discord with him watching and like commenting a little bit, and it was a tough one. I think it was a nomad start. He was really pinned in the corner, but he managed to get a castle down like next to his TC. He made some Janissaries, and he like obviously did lose in the end because this was, I'd say, still around like 800 or 900 level, and like his opponent was just playing well, made a lot of counter units, but like there was a moment he could have won this game, and I kind of hoped he wouldn't because then his elo would stay higher than it should be for the moment. But this game was so sick to watch. And then this one, just before I move on to the next player, I need to show you this. It's his first moment of true glory where he got his first ranked win. This one was, yeah, another Mega Random game. He was the Mongols. It was one of those gens where there's like towers in his base built. There was these like 2 long weird side-by-side lakes between the 2 bases. So he did some fishing, did some kind of light scout rushing as much as he could with the towers. And yeah, he also loves fishing of all things, which is I'm so the opposite of what I'm used to from lower level players. And yeah, in the end, he tried really hard to spend as much money as he could on knights, and his opponent was just overrun. Classic kind of, you know, low elo victory, but it was so sick to be here for this moment. I felt like this was a huge morale boost that he needed after tanking those like initial ranked losses, and like from here, we watched the replay right after, and oh, he was just buzzing from this. So that was Longboat. I hope you'll cheer him on in his tournament games. And if you have anything you'd want to share with Longboat or any of the other players, I'm going to be opening up a channel in the Discord where you can post things like links, builds, guides, anything that like helped you learn AoE2, and I'll be sure to pass it on to them. But for now, your next Crash Course player is Samurai. Now, Samurai does differ from Longboat a little in that while he is a beginner level player like Longboat, Samurai did play Age of Empires as a child, where Longboat didn't, so maybe just being that bit more used to the units or like how the game plays could be an advantage. But I think the biggest difference that separates Samurai from the other players is that he does like RTS games. He is a StarCraft fan like myself, played quite a bit of StarCraft 2 in his days, and actually one of the main things we keep in contact over these days is when we watch big Brood War tournaments like the ASL, things like that. Though that said, he doesn't actually play a ton of RTS these days, but I do think he would have the highest knowledge of like how RTS games work of the 3 of them, thanks to his StarCraft days and watching like a lot of high level Brood War. I wouldn't say he's like super competitive, but he does definitely like to get good at the games he plays and practices, so maybe one to keep an eye on for sure. Now, we went through the same process for starting out as with Longboat, played through the tutorials, the Outer Wars, and Samurai actually played the most AI games out of all 3 before we actually got on the ladder, I think just to become more accustomed to being in a game. But overall, this part all went really well, I think. With Samurai in particular, actually, I was super surprised at how quickly he could pick up the hotkeys. So I gave the players my own personal hotkeys for this, which are basically like, they're mostly the grid hotkeys with some changes just that I like. But Samurai understood them pretty much immediately and has been using them really well since we started. Again, I think his StarCraft background helped a lot with this, but still, I was super impressed coming into AoE2. Now, talking about his rank games, Samurai's rank games have been very weird so far, the weirdest of the three. So he would ask me a lot while we were practicing, like, how to react to certain things and like what do you do when you get rushed. Like he's used to, you know, the idea of builds, the idea of rush builds timings and the way you need to adapt and stuff like that. So I would answer him, but none of his opponents are rushing him. Like no, there's no scouts, there's no man-at-arms, nothing. He's getting the weirdest. So his first game, it should be on screen here, his opponent, this was like 900,000 Arabia. His opponent was Poles and he stonewalled like the entire map left to right and just went for a full like pole farm boom. It was actually kind of sick to see, but the size of this stone wall, like poor Longboat gets these super aggressive opponents all the time. Like he gets tower rushed like every second game, and Samurai's literal first rank game was like this dude turning Arabia into a manual arena, and that game was very cool. So he nearly won it. I think he made a lot of knights and then tried to like ram down the stone walls, but his opponent, like it was a fast castle. He went for the pole unique tech like the sheep knights, and Samurai just couldn't keep up with the army production. Genuinely sick game, but like as a teacher it felt like a really weird position, because what am I supposed to say? Like he would ask after the game, he's like, all right, so how do I deal with that in the future? And I'm like, dude, no one is gonna do that to you again. Like this was a very weird game. But in general, I've been super impressed with how far he's come along. So one thing in particular that stands out for Samurai that I think makes him really dangerous here in the crash course is that he's very good at making units. He makes a lot of units and he makes them attack. Like he doesn't just sit with them. Again, I think a bit of StarCraft bleeding in here because, you know, he's used to a game where attacks come in really fast and you need army to like not die. But I think obviously in Age of Empires 2, a lot of people struggle with this. They struggle to make any units. If you're making any units at lower level, like you're doing very well. So even some of his first games, he had very good chances to win just because he made units. I don't think, you know, his build wasn't as good as the opponent, his timings were off, but he just made a lot of units. He spent his money. And it's crazy to see in real time like how effective that is when you have someone who does not know the game, but he just clicks the knight button. Like he would end up losing either to like slightly higher production from opponents, or just he would get overwhelmed with like raids later on, or say we were sticking to just knights at first and his opponents would then just go full pikes. He would struggle with that, trying to change to another unit, and by that point his army would just die. But yeah, I think production and hotkey's very good, like for a beginner, extremely good. I think it's going to make him a really dangerous opponent for the crash course. This game here, for example, this was his first win since I showed off Longboat's first win. This was actually within Samurai's first 5 games. Now, to be honest, in continuing his look of just having weird games, his opponent basically made 0 army this game. So it was a win. I'm not minimizing that. Samurai was on the Mongols, actually same as Longboat's first win. His opponent was Spanish, this was Arabia, but his opponent just tried to like naked FC, not even into castle drop, just full boom. He went FC, 3 TCs. But when the castle age came in for his opponent, I was on the call with Samurai and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, you're about to get castle dropped. And he's like, wait, what? So he tried to wall up. We are anticipating the castle that's like on his face, the classic Spanish play, but it just didn't come. His opponent did make a castle, but he didn't make anything. So Samurai full walled, reached castle himself eventually. He built up like a little army of skirms and went forward and then dropped a castle of his own on one of the enemy TCs that were kind of exposed. And then yeah, like his opponent just didn't make army. So he actually killed his opponent. He got the imp, made trebs, flattened him. Still, I think it was such a sick game. He was super happy. We finished it up, watched it back straight away. It was great celebration, but still kind of weird one. This was within the first 5 games. I think we were still at like 900 here. His opponent just made nothing. So I know that's kind of typical, but it was weird. So yeah, I think he's actually looking really strong here. Lots of production for this level. Also very good at walling. I think especially in recent games, he's making it a point to wall really early on, which I'm totally okay with at lower levels. I think he just needs more games where his opponents actually like attacks him early on so he can learn how to deal with getting rushed. But I think I said earlier on, like all of my players, they have jobs, you know, it's why the event is so long. They can only play when they're free, but he's played a fair few games. I think Longboat still has the most games by far, but Samurai can still catch up. So that was Samurai joining Longboat in the ranks in the fight to become Crash Course champion. And now we have one more player. Our final Crash Course contestant is Woad Raider. Now, here is where I need to come clean. Here is where you can deploy the scam comments, because technically Woad Raider has played Age of Empires before. I know, scam, people scam, hashtag addictive lied, everything, I know. But I do genuinely think he still fits as a legitimate player here. I really just hope you'll trust me here. Obviously, I'm not going to put on an event that I think would be bad. I wouldn't have asked him to join if I really thought it was unfair on the others. He has played more than Samurai and Longboat, but I don't think he's so far ahead that he's a shoo-in to win the whole thing. So let's get into it. It's been a long time since he last played, and even in his own words, he really isn't a competitive person. He's played a total of 12 ranked 1v1s ever before joining the Crash Course, and those games were years ago. The hours that he has in this game and in HD were spent messing around in team games for fun. He was never like super committed to like drilling builds or like trying to get really good at the game. So of course he does have an advantage over Samurai and Longboat. He's played before them, but I genuinely think this is going to end up to be a very fair fight by the time the tournament games come around. And of course, I was a little bit worried going in that he would be too far ahead of them, but honestly, Longboat and Samurai have taken to the game so well that I really don't know who I would bet on right now to win the whole thing. Alright, that out of the way. Hashtag excuses, rigged, people scam, I know, just trust me. Anyway, let's actually talk about Woad Raider. So, Woad Raider did play Age of Empires growing up as well. He was a huge fan of like Warcraft and Lord of the Rings RTSs as well, but he doesn't play much RTS these days. I wouldn't say he's like against RTS games, he just doesn't really play them. He does like strategy, so similar to Longboat, he plays a lot of board games, a lot of card games. He'd be a fan of like XCOM games would be a great example. He really likes that series. But I think when it comes to video games, he definitely prefers to just chill. He'd play like a lot of story games or action games rather than be going for like super competitive PvP. Now for Woad Raider, even though he's played before, he had actually never played the Art of Wars, so we went through those together on a call, helped him get familiar with the game again, remember how things work. Honestly, having gone through this process 3 times now, I really think these Art of War missions were such an insanely good addition to the game. Like, these are not talked about enough. Back in HD Voobly days, you could play for years without ever hearing any of these concepts. It's such a sick resource for new players to just like be able to get familiar with the ideas that come up in multiplayer. And the way they're presented in just such an easy to understand short mission that you can replay. Like you can just run them back and back, keep trying again until you figure them out. It's so huge. It's such a game changer. I really want more of this stuff, or at least for this to be like advertised more to new players. Then again, like the others, did a couple AI games just to get the feel of the game again, get used to it, and then we jump straight back on the ladder. Now, funnily enough, Woad Raider has actually been really busy this month, so he has the least games played of all the 3, which I guess does help, as it gives Longboat and Samurai even more of a chance to catch up. And he actually hasn't managed to win yet in the games he's got in, but I still think he's playing really well for how long he's been away from the game. Woad Raider, I think, is similar to Samurai in that he's pretty damn good at making units for their level and actually using them, like attacking with them. He does get housed quite a lot, maybe even more than Samurai and Longboat do at this stage, which hurts him quite a bit. And he does have that classic habit where like he'll hear the housed noise, jump his camera back home, add 1 house, and then go back to his army, so just ends up getting housed 5 seconds later again and again. But that's totally fixable, super relatable. Honestly, once we got a handful of games in, he was really doing a good job on his unit production. Like his opponents could not keep up with his army sizes at a certain stage. But I think his weakness is once the game starts to go a bit late, he really does struggle in figuring out how to end the game, like how to push his lead into a win. Like this game here, for example, he was Mongols, opponent was Lithuanians. He's doing a great job raiding, taking map control. He was actually expanding back home, which I haven't even taught Samurai and Longboat yet. But then once we got into like late castle, early imp, he really struggled to like defend his trebs, his castles. So he could never really build up a big push. And like at that stage, his opponent had done a great job of locking down his base. He had stonewalled everything so raids couldn't get in. Honestly, opponent did a great job at walling for the level. Like he couldn't find any more damage once the initial raids were done. Eventually his trebs just got dived again and again by these latest his opponents had. I think his opponents had like 3 or 4 relics as well. And by this stage, his opponent had just taken so many better trades, he eventually was able to push for the win. But I think this was still a sick game. He's definitely going to start winning again soon, so hopefully this last month he can put the time he has left to good use, get some solid practice in, and I think these tournament games are going to be so sick. And there you have it. There are your 3 Crash Course competitors, Longboat, Samurai, and Woad Raider. I hope this update was somewhat entertaining, even though it's been just me yapping for like 20 minutes solid at this stage. But yeah, let us know who you'll be rooting for in tournament games. I'm sure they'll see your comments because they will definitely be watching this. They're going to be trying to get some intel on each other. And yeah, look forward to the tournament games coming in the next couple of weeks. Speaking of the tournament games, we did debate on this quite a bit, how we were going to decide to run them with only 3 players. So this may change slightly, but I'm pretty sure we're going to do it this way. We've decided we're going to do a 3-player league. So each of them will play each other twice in best of 3s. And then I think we might do like a grand final best of 5, depending on how the standings end up. That's the end of the first Crash Course update. I'm going to open up that channel to Discord once this goes live, so if any of you are interested in sharing some builds, guides, resources, whatever you want with Longboat, Samurai, or Woad Raider. But that is it for me for now. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time.